If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key, and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Welcome to the Kulturecast. I am your host, Chris Stachiw, and I am joined once again by my good friend, award-winning screenwriter, and co-host of the Scary Stories We Tell podcast.
Hello. And the co-host of the one-season show.
That's true, that as well, which we just started our most recent season of TV on 1967's The Prisoner.
Yep.
The first episode's good. And there's like one or two other ones, I think. I don't remember. We recorded
it so long ago. I can't really... I think I remember I liked it more than you. So, audience, you're soon to find out.
So if you don't like my opinion, you might like the show.
Right.
That's just the reality of it. On this episode, though, we're not talking about The Prisoner. We are talking about 2010's Enthiran, otherwise known here in the States as Robo. It is continuing our look at Bollywood films, but there is a caveat to that. This is not a Bollywood film. This is an Indian cinema film. It is, however, a Tamil film from southern India, and this film, because Tamil films are not made in Bollywood, they are known as Kollywood with a K.
Ah, I mean, Bollywood's not a real place.
It's just a term.
Right? Yeah, like it's not a physical place like Hollywood is.
Correct. But the primary language that's spoken in the film. So Bollywood films, I believe, are Hindi, and then Kollywood films are mainly Tamil as well.
So this is Tamil.
Yes,
okay.
Tamil. But like Jess mentioned, there are English bits to it. So
well, and I read that like some film scripts for Bollywood movies and these cinema like this, that the film scripts are first written in Latin script, and then like characters like shift from one language to another so they can evoke like a particular atmosphere. So right. For like English is commonly used in like business settings, where Hindi would be the more informal tone.
Yeah, look, that's the thing about something like this versus the last film that we watched, Sholay. That film was, I believe, entirely in Hindi, and this film, there are lines spoken in this film in what Westerners would consider to be English. Mm-hmm. So,
which is common. I mean, like you see that in a lot of Asian films, Japanese, Chinese. I mean, you see that it becomes very popular. Yeah, I mean, like I have a friend who lives in Montreal. I mean, he's from here, but he speaks fluent French.
You're about to say Spanish.
And he says it's
this one weird Spanish Canadian friend of mine.
He speaks fluent French, and he said that most people just drop English words in every once in a while because it's just kind of posh. Like,
well, and the other thing is there aren't in other languages analogs for certain English words.
True. Very true.
So, but all that setup out of the way, let's talk about Enthiran.
Hello world. நான் ஒரு ரோபோ. மனித உருவம் கொண்ட எந்திரம். Speed 1 terahertz. Memory 1 zettabyte. தந்தை மொழி தமிழ். எனக்கு உலகின் எல்லா மொழிகளும் தெரியும்.
எனக்கு ஏபி நெகட்டிவ் ரத்தம் வேணும். வெரி யம்மி.
எல்லா கலைகளும் தெரியும்.
யாருக்கு என்ன வயசு இருக்கும்?
ஒரு நாள்
நக்கலா
இல்ல நிக்கல் போல்ட் எல்லாம் நிக்கலே பண்ணது.
டேய் நீ என்ன பெரிய எவடா நீ?
மனுஷன் படிச்சதுலயே உருப்படியான ரெண்டே விஷயம். ஒன்னு நான், இன்னொன்னு நீ.
ஹலோ, டோன்ட் கெட் எனி ஐடியாஸ். நான் என் வழியில போறேன், நீங்க உங்க வழி, தனியே வழியில போங்க.
நான் கற்றது கடல் அளவு.
He's so sweet.
கல்லாதது மனிதனின் பொய், பொறாமை, வஞ்சகம், துரோகம்.
All right, Vaseegaran. I will surpass you.
உணர்வுகள் எனக்கு புரோகிராம் செய்யப்பட்டது. விளைவுகள் கற்பனைக்கு அப்பாற்பட்டது.
உன்னை உருவாக்கணும் தான். இதுக்கு பேர் தான் துரோகம்.
You can do this, Vashi. அதுக்கு பேர் தான் தியாகம்.
உனக்கு பிறப்பில்ல, இறப்பில்ல, பசி இல்ல, உயிரினத்திலே நீ சேர மாட்ட.
என்னை சரியாக பயன்படுத்தினால் நண்பன். தவறாக பயன்படுத்தினால்
Command mode activated.
யாராலையும் அழிக்க முடியாது. சுருக்கமா சொன்னா he is an one man army. Get ready folks.
So it's directed by S. Shankar. It is produced by Kalanthi Maran. I mention that only because at the time it was the most expensive Indian film ever produced.
That I believe.
Yeah, and funny story, the sequel to this film is now the most expensive film up to this point. The most expensive Indian film. So just to give the viewers or listeners a reference, the amount of money that this film cost to make was $17 million.
Like, that's American dollars?
Mm-hmm.
Compare that to Marvel. Like, the most recent Marvel movie. Just to give, like, people, like, an idea of, like, okay, fine, you, like, in American cinema,
sure,
these days, superhero movies rule the box office, and they are the more expensive of films made over here now. So, I would assume that...
Endgame.
Yeah, I was going to say Endgame would probably be one of the most expensive movies recently.
$356 million. However, 2.0, the sequel to Enthiran, the budget, it is the most expensive Indian film to date. It came out 2 years ago. It had a budget of, you want to take a guess as to what the most expensive Indian film of all time is right now?
400.
80 million.
Wow.
It's which is shocking in a way, that it's not as much as an American film, because this film, it feels like a film made for more than just, I would say, quote, Indian audiences, but at the same time, it feels so distinctly Indian.
Oh, it does. I mean, it has a very distinct cultural feel to it because there are certain, things that happen within the movie that are important in context given culture. There's a scene in where this woman is saved from a burning building, but she was taking a bath beforehand, so she's brought out without any clothes. And because the robot doesn't necessarily understand what that means within the cultural context of like a woman being like, no, you don't see me unless I'm married. Like that is off limits here. It has a very profound effect on the rest of the movie.
It is pretty much the turning point of the film.
Yeah, and that matters in that context. Now that would be played off as a joke in an American movie.
Right.
It'd be like, she's naked, look at her. Like it's hugely different. So in that aspect, it feels very of where it's from. But like you said, it's effectively a superhero movie, kind of.
So that's the thing. So
it's kind of a rise and fall story.
Like I mentioned on the last podcast, one of the things I truly appreciate about Indian cinema is, as far as I'm concerned, and I will probably say it every podcast this month, it is the most exciting and innovative cinema on the planet right now because they manage to, and not right now, probably of all time, they can meld these, what would one consider to be disparate genres together? Mm-hmm. I mean, a musical, a sci-fi film, a drama, a romantic comedy. A
full-on action movie.
Yeah, into one film. The film, to summarize it easily, is...
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
One actor playing two characters, a scientist and his scientific creation who's a robot, and then that happens in the first 7 minutes of the movie.
Right.
And then from there on, it's a somewhat take on Bicentennial Man with Chitti, the robot, wanting to learn how to be human and have emotions. Then you have something akin to a kung fu movie interlude for a while. Mm-hmm. Then you have what's effectively similar to, one could say, Terminator or iRobot. And
there's a lot of Terminator imagery in this.
They even say Terminator at one point.
That's a common thing among this genre, I shouldn't say this genre, this group of films from this part of the world. We often see, I think, kind of everything sort of an homage.
Well, they're picking and choosing things Western, that they like.
Right, and big iconic cultural things that throughout pop culture. I shouldn't just say Western, but just pop cultural iconic things. It does happen to be that a lot of that stuff is Western.
Sure.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot of Matrix.
Yeah, a lot of the fight
references.
Scenes.
Yeah, exactly. And look, this movie's, how long is this movie?
177 minutes. It is there are versions of the film that are a little longer, a little shorter. It's anywhere between 166 and 177.
But the one we watched.
Yeah, 2 hours and 54 minutes, so 3 hours.
Right. So 3 hours, and I was not bored a single second of it versus all of last month's movies of Steven Seagal. and I'm bored to tears within 5 minutes.
And those movies were like an hour shorter.
Exactly. It's kind of impressive that that movies, and again, okay, so I've told you this off podcast, but I guess I haven't said it for the audience, but I have never watched a Bollywood or Tollywood or masala film.
Masala film is what they call like the mixing of genres.
Right, yes, yeah. So I've not had the pleasure of sitting down and watching one of these movies. I knew of the tropes, for one of them being that they're generally very long, and that there's often, that there's always pretty much musical interludes, and that everything is very just like garish and out there, and like and you know what? It all lived up to it. Like everything in there that I had heard, it happened. And I was really impressed because, like we said before, this movie was made for, you said 16 million?
Give or take 18 million.
And Endgame was more than that, but
Endgame is more than that and then some.
But I would wager, and I won't say it for every scene. I can't say that every part of the CGI in this movie is great, because it's not. There are some parts that are really goofy. One part in particular when Chitti is throwing a baby up in the air, like people do, and that baby looks so fake. But there are other parts of this that the CGI is really impressive. Like, more impressive than something in a Marvel universe. And maybe for me that's because most of this movie isn't necessarily taking place on like another planet where the entire backdrop is CGI.
Right.
Like every single thing you're looking at is CGI, so it all starts to kind of blend and become less interesting or less, fantastic looking, because when you're putting it up against actual backdrops and, real people, and you're not separated because pretty much Chitti is the only, like, non-human character we have, aside from the mosquito, but a non-human character that we have here. And yes, he is, because he's played by the other actor. He's fitted with this, very realistic suit that makes him look like his creator. But he, throughout the whole thing, is our only kind of non-life form being. When we're in Marvel movies, we're surrounded by all kinds of it. Like
aliens, raccoons.
Aliens, you're seeing, so yeah, exactly. So you're seeing all kinds of CGI thrown at you all the time. In this movie, you're seeing it a lot, yes, absolutely. But I don't know, there's something about it that just looks more impressive. And knowing that it was only $16 million is like kind of insane, and kind of makes me wonder how badly they screw their film crews.
Look, there are some things about Indian cinema that, as a Westerner looking into it, I'm going to say it's not great, but there are problems. But every film industry has its problems. We're not here to tear down Indian cinema, because you know what? We should start at home first. Tearing down our own problems.
Absolutely.
But the thing about this movie, like you mentioned, it is very impressive because, like we've already mentioned, this film stars Rajinikanth, who is one of, if not the biggest Tamil star of all time. He primarily works in Tamil cinema. He is widely renowned the world over as he's one of the big hitters of Indian cinema. You have him, you have SRK, you have Amitabh Bachchan. I'm sure I'm forgetting one. I'm sure I'm going to take flack from my friends who are going to listen to this and tell me that I missed one. But those are the big ones. And so he, if this were an American film, you would not have him playing the robot. You would have another actor playing the robot. But my God, does he do a good job.
He does.
It's
not
shocking.
It's not awkward and weird like almost. You always have, whenever you have a movie and where an actor is playing two parts or more parts, unless they're Peter Sellers, and it's, done up for more comedic effect, it always seems weird because the CG always looks weird. Unless you have a situation where it's like Dead Ringers, but, that's more of an exception than a rule. Here, he's doing just fine. It's not like we're having this kind of, it's not noticeable that he's the same person, other than that they do look alike, obviously, but they both do, he manages to convey different personality through both characters, that does make it seem like it's two different actors.
And at one point, technically, he plays almost, you could say, 3 parts in this film.
Yeah.
Because...
And, maybe there's some, I do recognize that there's a little bit of, like, a gap for me when I'm watching foreign cinema, because I can't judge wholly on their acting abilities, just because, like, the way lines are delivered and things like that, because I'm reading subtitles and I'm not hearing the natural inflection. Like, I don't know necessarily what is a natural inflection or not, so I can't base, judgment on that because I'm not familiar enough with the language, but it never feels weird or, like, shoehorned in or just oddly placed.
No, it's believable, and you honestly feel for both of the characters in different ways, because the character of Dr. Vaseegaran is, he's your typical, I would say, stereotypical scientist character.
Man, the beginning of this movie starts out just like that episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, which one?
Abel with the Cable.
Oh yeah, it kind of does.
Like Chris said, we're starting off sort of at the beginning here with Dr. Vasi, who is this, amazing scientist who's building this amazing AI. Is exactly like him in every way, like a person in every way aside from feelings and all of that. But yeah, the beginning of this, when we're introduced to his girl. Right, they're not married yet. They do have a wedding later on, but they're not married yet at the beginning of the field. But all I know is that she kind of lives at this school or home for women that men aren't allowed to go to.
Right, because the men in these women's lives were killed or left?
Or left, yeah, they're in the war. I don't know, they're somewhere.
Not in the movie.
Not in the movie, yes. But yeah, essentially he's just works all the time, and she's upset with him, and then he has to impress her with his robot, which of course he does, because of course you can't not be impressed.
You can't not be impressed by a robot who knows everything.
Right.
Which, I think for me, one of the most impressive things about the movie, other than the fact that the film is an $18 million budget and it doesn't feel like it at all, and the fact that the film actually kind of has something to say about technology in a way, and artificial intelligence, which, again, sitting down to watch this movie, you might not think that would be the case. I'm really impressed. Again, I don't think I can say this enough. I'm really impressed by how different yet the same the two characters of Vaseegaran and Chitti are, and how Rajinikanth really doesn't look the same when he's the robot.
No, he doesn't.
It's really surprising, right?
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
He does not look the same. It's the way he holds his face. I mean, I understand, I know they do his hair and makeup and everything differently, so obviously they're making an effort to make him look different. But the way he carries himself, like I said, he does just become two different people. Or two different characters, I should say.
And again, the crazy thing is, the first time I watched this movie, and so funny story, the first time I watched this movie, I was on an airplane coming back from India. And I watched it, and I obviously I was on the plane, so I couldn't get cell phone signal. And I was like, this actor playing... This was the first Bollywood movie I ever saw. My response was like, that can't be the same actor. It doesn't... They look similar, but there's no way. And then when I found out it was the same actor, I was like, dear Lord. Just... I mean... The amount of time and effort it takes to make this movie alone, having to do, you know, I don't know if they double shot scenes. I can't imagine in this day and age they would spend time doing that. But even if you're looking for where the strings are, as it were, you can't find them. It does a really good job of like melding the two together.
Yeah, and I will say that I think there's some very stark differences in filmmaking here than we're used to, or that I'm used to in other films, and namely the editing in this movie. And I think probably, I don't know, I will find out more later on this month, but in my notes, I have it's like edited like it's an MTV reality show, because we're getting all these like really like getting a lot of slow-mo shots, getting a lot of like shots of cars. And it when I looked up, when I was reading about Bollywood stuff, it said that there are like 6 main influences, and one of the influences is MTV. And so I think that the editing, like the slap, like just like the slapdash, very quick cut sort of style that they went for does help with that, having one person play 2 characters, because we're like switching back and forth in scenes so often. Like I was kind of amazed at how fast they went by for the first part of the movie, and then once I kind of got used to it, I didn't notice it anymore. But I do think that helps aid in kind of the trickery and of the visual element to it.
Yeah, I would agree. It's, you know, the film's editing, like you said, I think once you get accustomed to it, it's easy to understand. But yeah, it is very fast. And I haven't seen a lot of contemporary Indian cinema. A lot of the stuff that I've seen is kind of pre-2000s. And those movies have a similar style of editing where there's a lot of quicker cuts. But this film is definitely fast. And like you said, it does help. You know, one of the issues I do have with this movie, and I think that is just the kind of story that they're telling. The character of Sana, the love interest for both of the characters, played by Aishwarya Bachchan, not great. I mean, she's not given much, maybe. That's more the issue.
Yeah, she's not given much to do. She's pretty much just a damsel for the most part. She's either just angry with Vasi, and then she's won over by little, you know, cutesy little things, or she's pissed off, or she's a damsel. And I think that has a lot to do with the story they're telling, because the story essentially is, you know, you can kind of see where this is going. He creates a robot, and then after the robot exhibits that he obviously doesn't have any feelings or emotions, Vasi seeks out to change this, and through a freak accident, he actually, you know, changes that Chitti ends up getting human emotions. And so, of course, he ends up falling in love with her, and then it's this whole dynamic between Vasi and Chitti, and the love triangle, and yeah, it doesn't give her much to do, because she's just there to be an object of affection, essentially. And like the woman that taught the robot to love, and things like that, where it's just womp womp. Where everything else is so bombastic and fun and doesn't take itself too seriously, this just feels kind of flat and lame. And that's, honestly, it's the romantic comedy part of the genre.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I was not a fan of... I mean, look, without that character, you don't get the musical set pieces of the film, and one of my favorite, if not my favorite thing about this movie is the music from the A.R. Rahman soundtrack. A.R. Rahman is the John Williams of India. I don't think there's any other way to describe him. I mean, he is ever present everywhere. There's his influence can't be understated for Indian cinema, and without her character, you probably don't get any of those amazing songs, namely Boom Boom Roboto.
You also don't get the mosquito scene.
Right, that too. The mosquito. Oh my dear God, the mosquito scene. I'll let you explain it and then we'll talk about it because it's bonkers.
So in an almost 3-hour long movie, you have to fill a lot of time.
Here's the thing, though. Before we go on, it doesn't feel like they're filling time.
No, it doesn't, but it's just like there's a lot of room for a lot of weird stuff to happen because you have a lot of time. So, after Chitti has gained feelings and replaced the memories of Sana, he realizes that he has fallen in love with her and goes to visit her while she's sleeping and does the creepy watching her sleep sort of thing until he sees a mosquito land on her face and identifies it as an enemy. It takes some of her blood, flies away. He then captures it, and a mosquito war commences between him and these other mosquitoes because he can talk to them because he can speak every language, which I guess includes animals.
Which, by the way, that
insects.
brings up such a bizarre aspect of these movies that they never talk about.
That everybody can seemingly talk to these mosquitoes?
No, that the robots can talk to the mosquito.
Or that there's robots.
Well, that
are so well made.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. This isn't taking place in reality. I mean, it's not even taking place in 2010. I mean, it supposedly is because the end of the film jumps forward, which kind of retcons the sequel to the movie that they ended up making. But I couldn't tell if they can talk to animals or just he could talk to animals. But he does ask the mosquito to apologize.
And it says sorry, and she laughs. So effectively he has this little mini fight and showdown with the mosquito and teaches it what's up and then makes it go apologize to her. And it's great. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's great.
It's ridiculous, but it's not it's ridiculous, but it's not outside of the realm of this film's reality. If that makes sense.
Yes.
I mean, this film establishes a reality, and it sticks to it pretty well. There's nothing.
This movie in particular, and I can't speak for other films of this ilk, but it has a sort of cartoonish vibe where you kind of feel like you're in a cartoon universe where reality is kind of stretched, and there's, we kind of people take things as they are in the universe and just kind of roll with it. So everything seems a lot more outlandish. But so there's that. And there's a lot happens in this movie.
I mean, it's 3 hours long. It's almost like The Irishman. There's a ton of scenes too, right?
But more interesting.
Wow. I'd rather watch this. This is the same length as The Irishman.
Yes, I agree. And I mean, there's a birth at one point with Sana's sister, who is about to have this really, really, traumatic birth, and it would kill both of them. And Chitti reads all of the, books on how to do this, and he finds an ancient method that I guess is you can birth the child by removing the hip bone, which he does, but he can also, he can throw things out of his eyes with holograms like that. So he's showing everyone how they're doing it, so you just see this, little digital baby just whoop, right out.
And then there's a scene where he helps her cheat on her exam. There's a scene where he beats up some goons on a train, which
some radio goons.
Yeah, I think that... Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that scene is prefaced by the scene where he goes to a bunch of ruffians' apartment and...
Yeah, they live next to the place that Sana lives with all of the women, and they're just these, just group of punk dudes that blare their music and make obscene gestures at the women below. And,
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondersight comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
I go there and she's just like, you need to turn your music down. I'm like, no, make us. And then...
Oh, I'll make you.
Chitty explodes their house, and then later on, the group finds them on a train, and we have this sort of like damsel in distress, stick dastardly train pursuit that twice in this movie, this woman almost gets raped.
Yeah, like, and it's not even they're not even disguising the fact that that's what's about to happen.
No, like they grab her, throw her down, and then after Chitty rescues her, it's just kind of like, oh, what a goofy situation we were in. And I'm like, lady, you were almost just like gang raped, and that's a real problem where you're from.
Yeah, like that's a thing in India, like a real thing. Like you don't have to search very hard on the internet to find out any information about the problem that they've been having in India with this.
So yeah, it's very, I don't know, that's kind of a weird offset. But like I said, I'm not familiar enough with the genre. I can't speak to any of the,
But that is the weird thing, though, right? Like, you have these humorous scenes of him throwing a baby in the air and doing a drag routine and laughing and singing. And then you have, because I counted, you have a character having his head smashed. Mm-hmm. Like a fucking Gallagher watermelon. Boom! Yep. By Chitty, and then you have a character shot point blank in the head.
Yep.
And then you have, I don't even know how many characters murdered by Chitty as the kind of 2.0, the evil robot at the end.
Yeah. And can we talk about that turn for a moment?
Which turn? Like the long turn or the quick turn?
The evil turn.
But there's like a short.
The resurrected.
It's like a 2-stage, right?
All right, fine. The thing that leads up to the resurrection, because essentially what happens is, sure, he gets feelings. He ends up falling in love with Vasee's woman, and Vasee's like, no, you're not going to do that.
It's unhuman.
It's unhuman. He gets mad at him for doing that stuff, and Vasee then like rips him apart and just totally dismantles and destroys him as he's saying, like, I don't want to die. And then... if it weren't for the bad guy of the film who went and got Vasee, or who went and got Chitty's broken remains out of the dump and resurrected him to be evil Chitty 2.0, he would just be dead, and Vasee would get married to Sana, and they would just continue living on their lives like nothing ever happened. And I'm like, you kind of murdered him, though.
Like, not just murdered. I mean, that scene...
Like, you tortured and murdered him.
I texted you when I was watching that scene. I mean, Chitty is crawling on the ground towards Vaseegaran, and he just starts wailing on him with a crowbar.
Yeah.
Like, literally hitting him so hard he's breaking his limbs off. And the robot is pleading for his life.
He's effectively murdering him because he's, like, horning in on his woman. And then that's never really discussed, though, further on. Like, it's just... Vasee kills him, and then he gets turned into Chitty 2.0, and then the rest of the movie happens, and where now it's evil Chitty. But we never get, like, I can't be on Vasee's side at that point after that point in the movie, really. Because you made it, like, you created him, you made him have feelings, and then you, like, brutally ripped him apart and were gonna live your life as if nothing happened. And it would have been fine if your mentor didn't resurrect him.
Yeah, and then it leads to a really weird scene with Vaseegaran at the beach with Sana.
Yeah.
And, like, this weird guy, she goes, well, if you don't want to be with me, the next person I see is my boyfriend. And it's this, like, worker, this, like, weird worker out.
Well, she does this twice in the movie, and this is kind of it's an annoying, you know, female trope stereotype.
No one in their right mind would do this.
Oh, no, especially not in India. I mean, just walking up to, she just walks up to some man, it's like, okay, you're gonna be my boyfriend, and then he decides that, yeah, okay, because this lady's a stone cold fox. And this man is not, so.
No, he is not.
And he says as much. He's like, look, I'm not going to get a hot lady like this, so you're going to have to take her from me. And this isn't where she would have gotten raped a second time had the first time happened. And it is very strange. I don't know. There are a couple things in it that kind of make me like, that's kind of odd and, you know, problematic from my perspective.
So here's the thing, because you hadn't gotten a chance to watch Sholay, the film we talked about last week. There was a scene in Sholay, and several scenes actually, but the one scene that I kept mentioning on that podcast was there is a scene where one of the main characters, gets both of his arms cut off. Just sliced right off. Now, thinking about it in a vacuum, it was weird. But then I watched this film and I realized I think what they're doing with this kind of, because it's pretty brutal violence. I mean, even in this movie.
It is. And kind of out of nowhere. I mean, like, it's like, all right, fun time. I mean, because this movie, for all intents and purposes, all over, like, my general mood watching this movie was, like, fun and, like, laughing.
But then a guy gets shot in the head.
A guy's head gets exploded. There's, like, I mean, a just wall of people gunned down by Chitti. And, yeah, they're all cops, whatever, but there's a lot of death. Permanent death.
Yeah, like, I don't remember what they say at the end of the movie, but it's something like, you caused thousands of deaths. Like,
yeah.
What? And it's like...
Well, I mean, because he turned into a wall of like 100 of them and rolled through that city. They took sphere shape.
It's weird to me, but at the same time, I think the way at least I'm interpreting it is, with Indian cinema, if you're going to go and do a film, you're going to go and do a film. You're not going to hold back. And you see that with everything else.
All of it.
I mean, look, they went to Machu Picchu to film a musical interlude for this movie.
Which is amazing.
It's not my favorite song in the movie, but it's really good.
I need to know what these damn budgets are. I want to know what their line items are, because how are you making a movie on $16 million with all of this fucking CGI? You're going to Machu Picchu, which is not a fucking cheap location to shoot at, I'm sure.
It's not even on the same continent.
No! So you're paying for all these people and crew to travel. I mean, there's some dirty dealings going on here.
Or you know what it probably is? A bunch of tax credits.
Yes, or that.
It's probably just a ton of tax exemption.
But it's just like, jeez. And yeah, I mean, if you're gonna make a movie, like you said, they're doing it. They don't, I can't speak for the rate of films that come out of India. I don't know what their production schedules are like. I don't know how much they contribute to the, overall material of the film world. I have no idea. So, yeah, maybe if you don't get to make movies, like, super often, I don't know, you're just gonna make all of the things you want to make in one movie. And hey, it's fun. It does feel like a kitchen sink, but at no point does it actually feel like there's too much crammed in. Which is kind of weird because there's a lot that happens in this movie.
Yeah, it's not a 3-hour movie with a lack of things going on.
No, and it also doesn't feel like it's like jam-packed with too many things that you never get to really that nothing ever becomes fully realized because they've spent so much time creating too many threads.
And
everything pretty much comes together at the end,
I think one of the issues, other than the kind of female character being given nothing to do, the ending just kind of ends.
Yeah, because I guess they kind of roll Chitti what is it, the power of love that changes him?
No, it's literally the bad chip being taken out of it.
Oh, yeah.
But you could
The bad
interpret
chip.
it as the power of love, but it's literally just he had a red chip put in, and the red chip made him evil.
Right. He'd been red-pilled.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so they just take it out, and it's like, well, you're too easily manipulated, which is the whole thing that they've been, so this whole until this part, until he, the bad guy, actually gets Chitti, his whole mission is to find out, like, the neural schema. So, like, what exactly makes Chitti's brain work. And Vasi he's not patented yet, and he doesn't want to give that out because he says himself that the type of, being that Chitti is, he can be very easily manipulated and used for bad things. Okay.
And then he is.
And then he is. Because that's what you made.
Yeah, because the main villain of the movie, Professor Bora, is trying to make robots to sell to terrorists.
To sell to the military, yeah. Which, yeah, that seems pretty plausible.
I mean, again, what's plausible in a movie like
But
that?
I don't understand.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Vasi's purpose in why he did it.
So I read the Wikipedia, and I didn't pick this up from the films, which is like kind of interesting having watched it several times now. He made the robot Chitti to commission it into the Indian Army. But like it doesn't...
So he wanted to do the same thing effectively?
I get, well, aside from, other than not for terrorists.
Except for, not terrorists,
Nationalism.
but still... Right.
Which, in and of itself, can be terrorism.
You're effectively still creating a weapon knowing that you want to make it a weapon.
Right. Which, it's kind of weird, because, like, I mean, there is a scene where they meet with military characters, and Chitti just kind of goes off script, and is like, I love Sana so much, I don't want to fight anybody, and...
Oh, yeah, that's what spurns Vasi's, like...
destructive rage.
That's what turns him to destroy him, because he's like, you love her and you humiliated me in front of these people, so...
Yeah. But
I'm going to now destroy you. Honestly, I don't think Vasi's a good guy or a good character. Well, he's a good character, but I don't think he's a good guy.
Well, he's like very Dr. Frankenstein, right?
Yeah, where it's just too much power. He has this power complex that, this god complex of... I've created the ultimate being, I will destroy you too. I can't say that Vasi is ever redeems himself.
No, he's actually kind of at the end of the film more or less let off the hook.
Yeah, he is, because, I mean, whereas Dr. Frankenstein, yes, he created a quote-unquote monster, and he had a very huge god complex, but he sees the destruction of it at the end. And I mean, then we have Bride of Frankenstein, and that's whatever. But
well, and then we have 2.0, so...
Well, yeah, and so, but I mean, like I said, if Dr. Bora, Professor Bora, never found Chitti's remains, like if they were just totally incinerated and couldn't be put back together, Vasi would have just continued living his life. No problem. And he does the same thing by the end of this movie. He's never forced to really reconcile with, like... In fact, instead of, dismantling him a second time, he makes him dismantle himself.
Yeah, he does.
So it's just like, Vasi's kind of not a good person, and he never really becomes a better one.
No, and that's an interesting thing to bring up, because the couple times I've watched this movie, I didn't really look at it that way. But, I mean, you're completely right. I mean, that scene of him being dumped in the dump by Siva and Ravi, like you said, that's ostensibly the end of Chitti's story.
Yeah, if Professor Bora never found him, then that's it. And Vasi would have lived his life with zero regret. And it never really seems like he ever has any regret other than past, like, a little bit. Not as much as he should have for dismantling and destroying and effectively killing him.
But then there's a Machu Picchu musical interlude, so it kind of just makes...
Yes, that's true, so everything's better. Yeah. Musical interludes make everything better. And you know what, here's the fair thing. I will say this. In the version that we watched, I have no idea what they're saying in the songs at all because they're not dubbed and the subtitles were not appearing for the songs. So, maybe within those songs, Chitti and Vasi worked some things out. That is a very strong possibility. That is kind of the whole motif of a musical, and where you are working major problems out through these songs. So, yes, maybe it makes more sense if we knew what they were saying in the songs. Maybe they've worked things out. Maybe, Vasi has sort of he has a clarity about him and whatever, but I don't know. So in the version that I watched, my interpretation is that Vasi's just kind of a douche, gets away with murder, and then gets away with more murder.
So do you want to hear how much that Machu Picchu cost to film there?
Was it like 10 million?
Oh, it was only $1 million.
Oh, wow.
I think there's some crazy tax cuts going on. Mm-hmm. We haven't really talked too much about the music. There's more music in this film than there is in Sholay. I think in Sholay there were 3 musical acts. In this one, I think there's 5.
There's 5.
Because there's one, the on my notes, the one of them I just wrote, this looks like Daft Punk's worst nightmare. Because it's just like Daft Punk. Like, oh,
is that the silver one? Because I think I sent a video of that to Maggie and said I've died and gone to the year 2000.
Are you thinking about that one or the one with the robotic lion?
Oh, both now.
Because there's one where it's Chitti singing, and then there's one where it's 2.0 singing. I
think I was thinking of Chitti, but now, I mean, both?
They're nuts. I mean, those 2 musical acts are insane.
Right, like that effects is, whew.
I mean, there's a scene, the final musical act of the film has 2.0 trying to seduce Sana while looking like, okay, this is going to be a really specific reference, but so when Chitti, who looks pretty much like Dr. Vaseegaran, changes into 2.0, he looks like Mr. Big from Moonwalker, which you get that reference, right?
Ooh, wow.
But he totally does. Because Mr. Big is played by Joe Pesci in Moonwalker, and he wears like a big jacket, and he doesn't have a ponytail, but
he's got that kind of like flat
top
hair tire, yeah.
But the second musical act has 2.0 seducing Sana through the magic of music, and there's like versions of him, like thousands of versions of himself doing choreography. There's like giant animatronic lions. It is, again, it gives you exactly what you're hoping for. If you're hoping for something insane, it delivers.
Yeah, like that's what I say. That's what I meant when, like, everything that I had heard about Bollywood movies, from the elaborate set pieces to the elaborate musical interludes, I was not let down. It is all there. And I mean, like I said, for 3 hours long, I wasn't bored, really, during any of it.
Like, a lot of really well shot, well choreographed action scenes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
there's a lot of slapstick. There's, the 2 characters of, like, the dopey scientist lackeys, who I guess just exist to be mean to Chitti.
And get beaten up by him?
Right, yeah. I mean, this whole office is really, like, the whole dynamic between Chitti and Vasi is very strange, because now I just keep thinking about it, and Vasi keeps getting more terrible in my mind, because now I'm just thinking, like, he's like an abusive dad, where it's like, or an abuser in a relationship, where it's like, I'm going to build you up and build you up and build you up, and you're awesome, and then you do one thing that I don't like, and you're scum, you're an idiot, you're awful. And that's what he does. He shows him off at his presentations, and then when he doesn't do one thing correctly, he goes off on these, like, tirades against him.
Yeah.
And he's a horrible person.
He kind of is.
Think about it.
I mean, you're totally right. I mean, like,
Sana should have gone with Chitti. I wrote Chitti is murdered and turned evil, and I don't blame him.
there is the one reason that she wouldn't want to be with Chitti, and they actually go out of their way to mention it in this movie. Chitti doesn't have a cock.
No, he doesn't have a special thing.
Yeah, what's that special thing I don't have? You mean your dick, bro?
Yeah, because then he would be real unstoppable, I guess.
Well,
I don't know. We can make a killing bot, but not a rape bot.
I was thinking about that. So if you could create android to give a woman or man exactly what they wanted sexually, would there ever be a reason to be with someone, a real person, who can't satisfy you?
I mean, I guess for, like, conversational purposes.
Wow. Wow, Jess. Let's just hope our significant others never listen to this podcast. But you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean, though? Like, I was thinking about that same thing. It's like...
Well, I mean, that's the risk you run in that world, right? It's the same risk they talk about here, they talk about in Westworld, they talk where it's just this, how human is human, and at what point do they cease being machine and become human, and then at what point do you cease being a user to being a psycho? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like all fun because they're robots and it's a game, but then the robots start to have feelings, and you're still doing the same abusive stuff you were doing before, and now you've bridged to a new territory.
And then you get hit by lightning.
Or a bus.
Yeah, well, do they kind of make the connection that Chitti getting hit by lightning gives him emotions?
Yes.
Very Frankenstein.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly, like, I looked at, like, when I was reading about this movie, like, they say, and, you know, take whatever Wikipedia and IMDb for how much that, you know, how much it's worth, but it says that after, like, the accident with the lightning, that's what causes him to have emotion.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster. You know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
I mean, lightning causes Frankenstein's monster to have life. He always had emotion because, unlike Chitti, the monster was human at one point.
Right.
Many humans.
Yes, many humans.
But the monster is flesh and blood, real flesh and blood, and when you bring something back like that who had a previous life, you're dealing with a whole other entity than bringing someone who was nothing and is now existing.
Yeah.
Because their brain is a clean slate, and they go so much as to say that pretty much at the beginning, and that's when he's scanning everything and learning. He is super smart, but he's still effectively 1 day old, you know, at the beginning of this, so he doesn't know much. He has to be told very specifically. It's kind of like a genie, or like the monkey's paw thing, where you gotta be real specific about what you want, and hope it doesn't get fucked up, because you said one wrong word. Because otherwise you're gonna crash into, like, the back of a car, or something like that.
Or you're going to get your hand sliced by a robot who doesn't understand that you want a bribe from it.
Yeah, when you say, I want to cut.
Yeah. There's a look. I rarely say this on the podcast anymore, but this is one of the few movies where if you have not seen this film, you need to watch it. Like,
I would agree.
Like, you need to watch it because you probably have, like, you're probably having a hard time keeping up with us as it is, because there is just so much going on.
And I mean, the story is very simple. It is a very simple love triangle. You know, if you've seen a movie about artificial intelligence, then you know what's going to happen. Like, it always ends up being that they become too sentient or whatever. Because it's melding all of these genres, it's keeping the stories really simple because they're all identifiable and universal. And that's where I think, you know, you said it at the top of the podcast, and I agree, that this movie does very much feel like it's a Bollywood movie, and it's not made by Americans, obviously, but it feels accessible to audiences all over. And I mean, you see that a lot in overseas. Big blockbuster movies make a ton of money because they are accessible, because they're short on dialogue and, you know, short on dialogue, short on plot, and heavy on action adventure. And when you're watching movies that are not in your native language, that's, that makes sense because you're being engaged more visually by what's happening than necessarily by the, dialogue that's being spoken between the characters. And you see that, I see that in foreign movies that I watch here. Like, the subtitles are kind of wonky sometimes because it's like, well, that's kind of a weird way to say that, but I understand that it doesn't translate exactly as is into English, or it would sound even more wonky. So yeah, this movie is accessible. Like, even if you are not a person who enjoys, who seeks out foreign film, it's something that there will be something in it that I think would make you at least smile for a minute.
Just skip to the last hour where there is more CG.
Or it turns into a Michael Bay Transformers movie.
But it's better than a Michael Bay Transformers movie.
Oh, it's better. It's absolutely better. But yeah, you get giant, snake machine.
Well, it's because you're invested in the character.
Yes.
I mean, that's the other thing that I've noticed watching more Indian cinema is, like with a film like Sholay last week, you see these characters actually have a journey. You're with them for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And, you feel like you've seen... they're at the end of the film, I didn't feel like I needed to see anymore.
No, because I did feel like I've spent actual time with these people. And that's what I mean, by how much stuff happens in this movie. It's not, how much, super important to the plot stuff happens this movie. It's just important to the characters and their development.
It's a lot of character building.
It's a lot of character development, which aside from Vasi. Or maybe, you know what, maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is that Vasi's kind of, look, the human isn't necessarily the good one here in this instance.
I mean, you're supposed to feel
But unfortunately, yeah. But, even though Chitti still ends up, kind of, the message at the end of this movie is a little weird, though, right?
Well, let's see. What do you perceive the message of the film to be?
The final lines here, we skip ahead after Chitti has been deprogrammed and now in a museum, and this school group is going by and the teachers are explaining that Chitti was first of his kind, da-da-da-da-da. And one of the little girls says, well, why was he dismantled? And his head turns around and says, because I started to think. And then the credits roll. So... we have probably some conflicting issues on conformity here.
Don't think if you're AI.
Yeah.
Or in general, I guess?
I think it seems like a little in general, be more conformed. Conform to society is the message here, and don't go off on your own.
What a very weird message for a film that features a character having his head smashed.
Well, because he was bad and was
true.
And maybe that's just my interpretation of that last little bit. And cultural differences and all that aside, I can't say that I know 100% what this movie's about. Obviously, there's a fuck ton of shit in this movie, so that one little bit doesn't necessarily speak for the whole movie. I think it's a little bit of a strange line. You're gonna have, it's just...
conflicting messages.
It's different culture. Yeah, it's just different cultures. It's different, and that's how things are interpreted. Like I said, I'm one person watching this movie with zero context of how, of mostly how things work in India, both culturally on a governmental level, whatever. I'm just not that familiar with that area of the world, and I don't pretend to be, and I'm not gonna say that, I understand everything that came through in this movie. That's just, the last line kind of rubs me a bit weird, but again, that's me. So, but everything else in this movie, it's worth watching. If you're gonna watch any 3-hour-long movie, you could do a whole hell of a lot worse.
Yeah, well, that's for sure.
And you could be asleep through 90% of them.
Before we end this podcast, there is one scene that I'm shocked neither one of us have brought up because I think it's my favorite scene in the entire movie. The black sheep scene.
Bah.
So, towards the end of the film, Dr. Vaseegaran, he camouflages himself to look like Chitti, which means he camouflages himself with a flat top that has a stripe through it, And look, he kind of looks like a badass. He's wearing like this jacket and he looks very...
So I just referred to this as the GTA sequence.
GTA sequence.
Like the Grand Theft Auto sequence where he's dressed like this and like walking around his car with his gun. It's ridiculous.
Oh, well, yeah, it's, he looks, he looks ridiculous, but not in like an unbelievable way. He just looks like a movie villain. But he sneaks into 2.0's headquarters, and 2.0 realizes it by seeing a drop of blood on the ground that Dr. Vaseegaran had spilled because he had to cut his arm to convince Sana that he was human. And so he 2.0 lines up all of the copies of himself. And obviously Vaseegaran hasn't left yet, so he has to line up with the rest of them. And so you have this, I would say it's a pretty tense scene of 2.0 walking around this group of clones, and it's a pretty big group of these kind of clone robots, slicing them open, stabbing them, all the while Vaseegaran is trying to keep his cool. And then Chitti, or 2.0, finally goes, okay, everybody, rotate your heads. And it's like, yeah, he's the one who can't do that, obviously. So 2.0 starts going, you're the black sheep. And like you already mentioned, Jess, starts going, bah, bah. It is bizarre. It is strange, to say the least.
I don't know what my eye of the duck is for this movie.
That whole boom boom robota scene.
It might be the mosquito sequence. I mean, but the whole sequence of the fire that causes Chitti to rescue this girl and bring her out nude, and then people see her. She's so ashamed that she runs into the street and gets hit by a bus in a very like Final Destination sort of way. But I laughed my ass off.
I mean, it was unexpected.
Yeah, I was not like. I think that's like the first death. Like not.
Yeah, I think so.
Isn't it?
Because people don't really die until like. People aren't dying in droves until the end of the film.
Until like halfway through, yeah, towards the end. And like when we say halfway through, we mean like an hour and a half.
The length of a normal film.
Yeah, the end of what a normal movie would be is when like real death starts happening. So yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all, and she just runs out, and I'm like, there's no way she's gonna get hit by a car. That's not this kind. Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, she just.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Out of just, yeah.
And is dead. And then they're like, you did this because you brought her out here naked and she was so humiliated because honor and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, that sounds more like a your problem.
Not a me problem. That's a you problem.
I think we need to assess the overall situation here.
So, for those of you that are Patreon supporters, Jess and I are going to be doing a Patreon exclusive bonus episode for August where we are going to be taking a look at the second film in what is, I guess, the Enthiran franchise, otherwise known as 2.0. It actually came out...
So how many movies?
Just two right now.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it's only 2020.
That's true. The last one, what? So 2.0 came out
2018, when? So 2 years ago.
Oh, damn.
So it is the continuation of the story. Chitti comes back. There's a new threat that's not Chitti, and apparently they have to bring back 2.0, the quote-unquote evil robot, to help them destroy a bigger threat. It's from what I've read, one of my close friends that I grew up with, his family's from southern India, and him and I were texting when I was watching this movie, and he was like, that one's worse than Enthiran. And I was like, I didn't dislike it. Like, oh, this is not setting up very well.
You mean better?
Yeah. How could it be worse if that one's amazing? But there is a sequel. We will be covering it on Patreon, so if that's something you want to hear us talk about, $1 is all it takes to get access to the Patreon episodes. However, Jess, I am curious, what would you give Enthiran out of 5?
I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5, because it's a lot of fun. I don't know that I necessarily would watch it again just because it is so long. But, yeah, it's fun.
There are scenes you can watch out of context at this point.
Exactly, yeah. It's a movie that I could just throw on in the background and just, like, tune into every once in a while and be like, oh, yeah.
And it'll be like a third of your day right there.
I mean, I spent, like, a third of my day watching this movie.
I feel you on that. So, as for myself, I'm going to give it a 4.5, which is a lot higher than I thought I was going to give this film going into it. But, you know, when I watched it in 2011, that was almost a decade ago. I wasn't operating in the mind space and headspace that I operate in now doing this podcast. So when I saw it in 2011, I thought, man, this is just a bizarre movie.
Right.
But being where I am now, it's like, this isn't bizarre. This is par for the course. Like, this is very much what Indian cinema, like, is all about. It's all about meshing and melding these genres and creating something that is, I don't know if you would agree with me, but it feels unique to Indian cinema. You could not pull this off in American cinema. You'd get laughed out of the box office.
It would have to be posed as like a spoof or a parody. There's no way you could do it in any kind of, because like I said, they're very goofy, kind of slapsticky moments in this movie, but there's also some serious stuff, and like we said, there's real permanent death, and this woman, could potentially die in childbirth. So there are certain aspects of it that ground it in some kind of levity and ground it in some kind of reality. Whereas, if you did it in America, it would have to be a bunch of A-list stars being stupid and just poking fun at everything. Nobody would be able to. It's essentially would just be Americans making fun of it.
Well, they couldn't make a film like this and take it seriously. Not with musical numbers.
Because American audiences wouldn't be able. Overall, and I don't mean to say I'm a film snob and my opinion on movies is much more in tune than others, but mainstream, everyday audiences are not going to go to a movie like that because we don't blend genre here well. We're all very cliquey.
In the United States, in Western cinema, blending genres is seen as a death knell. It's in one of two ways. Either you land it and it's amazing. Look at something like Evil Dead. Or you...
Yeah, but they're always viewed as exceptions than the rule.
But most of the time it's just you tried... And you tried, and that's that.
And they usually end up leaning heavy into one thing rather than another. And I mean, like we said, this movie is not just two genres; it's a myriad of genres.
It is again a perfect definition of what is considered to be a masala film. So, before I talk about what the next episode is, I do want to say, Jess, I am very thankful that you liked this movie.
Yeah, it was fun. I was excited to watch it.
I was worried you weren't going to like it.
No, it is just the right kind of ridiculous for me to appreciate.
And it's ridiculous, but they're not even playing it ridiculous. That's the crazy part.
No, that's what I like. It somehow doesn't take itself too seriously, but it also isn't constantly winking at you through the fourth wall.
Get it? Isn't this dumb?
Isn't this stupid and funny? Ha, people don't do this. And it's hey, thanks. That's what American audiences, that's what it would be like for American audiences. It would just be breaking the fourth wall constantly.
It almost feels like American cinema has lost a sense of fun, and it's just a lot of cynicism.
Yeah, I mean, it's either because we're driven by award seasons, and Oscar season is generally the drama heavier stories. And then everything else is just kind of to make money. So nobody really puts in a whole lot of effort. I mean, that's kind of what it feels like. And I know that does sound kind of cynical, but it's kind of the truth. We live on franchise. We live on franchise and remakes and kids' movies because those are the things that people will go and pay money to see all the time. Well, not now. Nobody's going to pay money to see shit anymore.
Well, but I do think that your indictment of American cinema is spot on. I mean, look, I don't want to be that person. Like you said, we don't want to be film snobs and say, well, fucking Marvel movies, and it's just Marvel
Ruined
and Disney.
cinema.
Like, it is a lot of Disney films, albeit Marvel, Star Wars, what have you, a lot of franchises, a lot of adaptations, and like, that's okay. That has a place, but like, a film like Enthiran, with a budget that it had, would never have been made in the United States.
Well, and here's the thing. This isn't an indictment necessarily against audiences either, because audiences are only going to go see what you give them to go see.
It's fair.
So if you're going to just keep churning out these same movies because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and you know you're guaranteed a paycheck off it, then I guess you're going to keep doing it. Instead of trusting that your audience would follow you because they like you and they like your storytelling and they want to see what you do, as opposed to just, filtering the same 5 characters into a different, creator's hands every few years.
Right.
It's equal parts to blame audience and to blame filmmakers and not necessarily filmmakers, actually. It's more just studios and executives. It's the studio system and the executive system, because the bottom line for them is the bottom line. It's to make money. They do not give a shit about making stories.
No. And that's unfortunate, because there are filmmakers out there like S. Shankar in Indian cinema, and filmmakers around the world, even in the United States as well, who are...
filmmakers that put stuff on YouTube and Vimeo. Most of the, because I work in a lot of documentary stuff, I watch a lot of documentary stuff, and most of the really, interesting documentary pieces I've seen have been just random YouTube creators that spent a lot of hours of free time and, no money to make these deep dives that they spent a lot of time on. And they're really fucking interesting about really cool topics. But they would never in a million years be able to crowdfund a documentary or something like that. And they would definitely never in a million years be able to get a studio to fund something like that. So... yeah, it's not filmmakers who don't have stories to make, and it's not audiences who don't want to be there for the stories. It's purely executives and studios and commercialization of everything and wanting to make money. That's what they want. They want to get guaranteed asses and seats, and you have to break a box office budget, or you have to break a box office record every time now. It's no longer just good enough to break even or to make some money afterwards. You have to be the highest grossing film of all time this week.
No, you're completely right. And it is interesting and exciting and frankly refreshing to watch a film like Enthiran, knowing that not only was it successful, not only was it well received by critics, not only did it get a sequel made with a higher budget that made more money, it wasn't laughed out of the cinema and people took to it. And again, it's primarily because of, Indian cinema. They're clearly more receptive to broader stroke ideas when it comes to genres. And the fact that the actors in these films are generational actors. That's one thing that I think before we end this podcast, we have to talk about. Rajinikanth, at the time that this film was made, this guy right now, 69. He was 59 in this movie as the lead.
Damn.
And
he looked fucking good.
And he's playing a character that is not portrayed to be 59.
No, I would think he'd be in his 30s.
And the problem with the other problem with American cinema is you don't have generational actors anymore in the vein of someone like Rajinikanth or Amitabh or SRK. These guys have been working for decades. They've been putting together filmographies. Rajinikanth right now has 160 films to his name. We talked about this on the last podcast. You don't hear about that in American cinema.
No, we have Hollywood royalty. We have the Barrymores. We have a lot of people, but it's, two of the other influences when I was looking at Bollywood stuff, and it said 6 major influences. One was, they were both theater centered, so folklore, old folk theater from India, and I can't remember what the other type was called. So it's kind of it incorporates these other art forms that I think are more prevalent in other cultures than they are for Americans, because we are pretty devoid of a natural culture as Americans.
That's just the way it is.
Hollywood kind of is our culture. It's how we are, but we don't have, like our ancestor or our grandparents, our great-grandparents, at least, maybe yours, but not mine, aren't telling these like folk tales from passing on. They're not singing these songs together as a family. Like we don't have that so much here as other cultures do. And then they bring that into their cinema and you can see it. But if you bring it into cinema here, it's like, why are these people singing? Like, why? They're being weird. We're all very, I guess you can, blame our...
Very Protestant?
You can blame our Protestant Anglo ways on being just really stiff upper lip and boring about everything.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
We take ourselves entirely too seriously and we cannot laugh at ourselves.
No, we cannot. And it's a bummer because it really has affected the kind of cinema that I would say is quote-unquote mainstream and quote-unquote, acceptable for people to watch. I mean, I could see taking, not a child, but I don't know. What age range is this movie made for?
Probably. Well, I mean, they don't have a rating. I mean, we're talking about, like, when I mean rating, that would be the Motion Pictures Association
right, which in and of itself is a fucking sham.
Exactly. I would say probably family. I think that a lot of this, reaches families in general because it has a lot to do with generational, things between Vasi and Sana. It has a lot to do with regional customs. So, yeah, I think that it probably just appeals to everyone and that the violence is so over the top and, like, cartoony that it's not scary like a horror film and it's not, like, disturbing like a dramatic war film or something like that.
Right.
So it's all kind of in good fun, but with some, serious things to consider while you're watching it.
Like you've mentioned so many times before, as a Westerner watching these films, I can't really wrap my head around some of the I can't wrap my head around how this is received by the culture because again that really goes to question like who is this movie made for? What is the age range that this movie's made for?
Right. What is the underlying like what are the purposes behind these movies? Like who are we trying to reach? What are your messages? And maybe there aren't. Maybe they're just for fun. I don't know, but
well, it's fun. There's that. That's for sure. But on that note, I can tell you that the next film we're going to be watching for this month is not going to be fun. It is very much a step in a different direction from this film, and we'll talk about it when we come back. Right, on the next episode of the Kulturecast, we're going to be talking about 1989's crime drama Parinda, which translated to English means bird. It is an Indian crime film, so different step from Sholay, which was an Indian Western, then you have an Indian sci-fi film, and now you get an Indian crime film. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be joined by two people who I know can't wait to talk about the film. My good friend and Jess's, because we became friends because of him, Projection Booth's host, Mr. Mike White, and Heather Drain as well of Diabolique. So make sure to check that episode out. Until then, if people want to hear more of you, Jess, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at writer Jess Byard. Pretty much post everything there, but if you want to hear Chris and I together talking all things spooky, you can hear us over at our podcast, Scary Stories We Tell. We do deep dives on all things paranormal, true crime. We've got a lot of interview episodes with all kind of cool journalists, experts, Jonathan Frakes.
George Noory.
Yeah, and you can also hear us, as we talked about a bit at the top of this show, we just recently kicked off our third season of the one-season show where we talk about television that lasted only one season, and we are covering 1967's Prisoner, which I would kind of love to see a Bollywood version of.
Well, there are a lot of Bollywood versions of American cinema. I believe there is a Bollywood Nightmare on Elm Street.
There is, yes. I need to see that.
I think there might be a Jaws as well.
There's quite a few horror ones. And then, like that's something that is discussed about Bollywood film is that there have been, quote unquote plagiarism, because from what I can understand, they are often very pressured to write scripts super fast and get these things, but these scripts are elaborate. Musical scenes are hard to write. I mean, you have to write songs.
Right.
It's a whole other form of writing on top of an actual script. So you get things like Nightmare on Elm Street ripoffs and stuff like that. But, for me, that's...
I don't understand what people are getting mad about. I mean, American cinema rips off everybody else all the time. Martin Scorsese literally won an Oscar for ripping off of a Hong Kong crime film. That film was called Infernal Affairs, and guess what? It blows the pants off The Departed.
Yep.
I hate that idea that like nobody else can do our movies, but we can do everybody else. Like, get the fuck out of here and take your bullshit with you. Like, I have no interest in that. Like, that's such a bizarre way of thinking, but like I've heard that before where it's like, they're ripping us off. It's like, it's not really a rip. It's not like we have the the market cornered on coming up with interesting ideas.
Right. And who is going to be upset about potential musical interludes in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie?
Nobody. Especially not us horror fans.
I need to see that shit.
Oh, jeez. We're not watching that this month, unfortunately, but I think we're going to have to revisit Bollywood films because so far, I almost don't want to stop watching them, but that's a different story.
Welcome to the culture. Welcome to the Bollycast.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, boy. As for myself, you can follow me on Twitter at casualty_Chris, Kulturecast.com, patreon.com/Kulturecast. Those are all the places you can find the episodes. And if you want to donate, $1 is all it takes to get the bonus content. And like we said, we're talking about 2.0. So if you like this, I don't know why you wouldn't want to hear us talk about 2.0. And as always, big thanks to Tiger Blood Jewel for the music. And we'll catch you on the next episode.